All right, everybody, welcome to another Alovéa Pros. And this is a good one because it's just cold everywhere we are. We may not look cold. I look colder than Dr. Travis right now, but he's in Wisconsin. I'm up in Canada. We are surrounded by freezing weather, but I think this is going to be a whole lot of fun hanging out with you. So, Dr. Travis, welcome to the Alovéa Pros.
Nick, I appreciate the time here.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited to spend time with you because my wife is a chiropractor, and I've just always been a huge fan of putting your body in the right environment to do what it needs to do, and you'll see good things happen. So I'd love just for you to start off with, where did you go to school? Why did you get into chiropractic? What was there something that happened, or was it something that you always knew you wanted, or was there a shift in your life that said, I'm going down this path? Like, walk us through that journey.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm in Hudson, Wisconsin here. I went to Northwestern Health Sciences University right in Bloomington, right in the Minneapolis metro area.
Nice.
I grew up in this area. I grew up in Hudson, Wisconsin. I always knew I wanted to work with people and somewhere around health, human performance, health, wellness. I didn't know what that meant in undergrad school. I originally was going to be a physical therapist. I had a really cool physical therapy, experience myself. Had a torn ACL. I was just like, well, this is cool to like help other people get better and athletes, things like that. Then I stumbled upon chiropractic. I just went for a discovery day at the school.
Really?
And yeah, I just went to discovery day. I've been adjusted before. Like I knew what chiropractic was about. I didn't understand the reason behind chiropractic or the philosophy behind chiropractic until I went to discovery day. And the pivotal moment that I knew that I was in the right place was when they described the chiropractic philosophy of the body has this innate intelligence and it has this innate ability to heal itself. And I was like, that's simple, but it's so powerful. And if I could offer this to other people just based on that philosophy and, have my own career around it, it sounded like a really fun career to get into. And it engulfed all my schooling that I had up until that time too. And so that's when I was like, okay, I'm going to be a chiropractor, go all in. And here we are 7 years later.
Wow, so 7 years. Congratulations. And people don't realize there's that transition, right? Because you're going from schooling and learning everything you're learning about the body and all the chiropractic care you're giving, but then you get thrown into running a small business, right? So now you actually have your practice and you're building your client list and whatnot. But going back to the passion, I think it's pretty cool that at a young age you had that desire to make a difference in people's lives. Like where did that come? Like were you in sports? Because your story is shockingly similar to my wife. She was a Canadian athlete and she just loved helping people. She went down the kinesiology route first and stumbled upon chiropractic. Very similar. So it's fascinating to hear your story. So like, is this something that was always connected to who you were or who you are?
I think so. I think I was born to be this way. And I think I was a kinesiology major. So I was already in, that sphere. I just knew I didn't know how to apply it, right? Until I found chiropractic. And I think once you find something that just resonates so well, you shouldn't take it lightly, right? You should just go all in on something that like feels right. Like it was like a gut feeling. And I had a ton of fun, learning that stuff. And I think, looking back 7 years ago, like you said, like starting your own business, I didn't realize that like, wow, I get to make my own hours. I get what I put in, right? So it's like all self-success oriented, which I like that too. So it makes you, driven to like achieve, different things and learn different things. And I think that's one part of what I've developed with the business I have now is just a lot of unique services and a lot of unique treatments. Differentiates myself to the other chiropractors because there's chiropractors in every corner. I would say 85 to 90% of them pretty much do the same thing. They do what they were taught in chiropractic school, which is great. That's great care. But I wanted more. I wanted something different, unique, separate myself a little bit.
Wow, that kind of gave me just goosebumps around that. So you really do have an entrepreneurial and visionary mind connected to what you're doing about this concept of growing. I'd be curious to ask this question. I don't think I've ever asked anybody this before, but this idea of, I was talking with some entrepreneurs the other day about what drives people. And I think when you're a coach or you're a trainer or you're a healthcare professional, or there's something about when you see that person you're working with getting results. And I'm sure you've seen it so many times where you're working with a client that something's not working, and maybe even the chiropractic care, it's having an impact, but maybe they're not feeling it. Maybe you take some of those new modalities you're learning. Like, what does it mean to you, or how does it feel like when you see a patient go from here to here, and you've seen that difference in their life? Like, how does that make you feel?
Well, it's everything I live for. That's what drives my meaning.
Wow.
My friends call me the healer. I love that because it's like, they know they can come to me with really any health regimen, and I at least have a correct or a nice path they can go down that's relatively natural, non-invasive. They know if they ask me a question, it's not like, let me refer you to my, surgeon, or let me refer you to my pharmacist. They know I'm not going to talk about that because that's not, what my specialty is. So I see it, of course, every day in the office, people getting better through different care and different care plans. And that is really what gives me the confidence to know that what I'm doing is correct and it is working for people. And, I feel like I'm creating, a new type of healthcare system in a way, because it's private practice, it's customizable, and it's its own, it's not a standard of care, right? Like a standard of care is like, you have this disease, this illness, you have to go through this and this before this, where I can be a lot more integrated in my approach and say, well, based on my clinical experience, patients who have that condition really benefit from doing this combined with this at the same time, and maybe this supplement and maybe this practitioner involved. And so it's really fun. Every day I don't know what to expect every time I come to work. It's not
Which is exciting. Yeah, kind of.
So, and I really don't plan that far ahead when it comes to like, clinic care, but it's, once I see that person, I can write a pretty good path for what they should do going forward.
Well, it's like hearing you talk about it, it's like a beautiful chessboard, right? It's like, you're working through the maze of all the different things, and other relationships, to help people along that guidance. And I think that's so cool. And, you talked about, not just taking your schooling, which is super, because it's probably the foundation of everything you have. And I know chiropractic so well, but then you're adding in all these other elements. So what does it take? Because I know you're sponsored by Alovéa, you're an Alovéa Pro. Alovéa is a special program where we have coaches, trainers, athletes, healthcare professionals that, once approved, you're kind of partnering with the company. So, and I know you have other modalities. So what is it that kind of catches Dr. Travis's attention when you're looking at new things? What check marks does it have to check?
I'd say first and foremost for myself, is this a, proven modality or product, right? Like, is there actual evidence to state that it does what it's supposed to do, right? Like, from the scientific background that, my education came from, that's what it's all based on, right? And I think marrying the two with evidence-based, information with real life clinical reality is the perfect combo, because one thing doesn't necessarily going to respond to another person, right? Like, everybody's pretty individual. And so, like, the perfect example is like, I'll just bring it up, like, because Mindy obviously talks a lot about like Lyme's disease, right?
Mm-hmm.
My wife was going through the very, very similar story to Mindy. And this is kind of where I got into the Alovéa world. And we went from, last 2 years of, well, what works for Lyme disease? And it's not like, yeah, just take this steroid and you're good to go. Like, we know that's not the case. Different people respond to different things. And so what I look for is, some kind of unique proven modality or product that I can offer people that, wouldn't have it otherwise. Right. So they know that they come to me with some kind of uniqueness, almost like they're looking for something different. I hear that a lot when people come as a new patient. I'm here because I know what you do is very different, very unique. That's what I'm looking for. So with all the different modalities we have, they all synergize together. Nothing is the same. Everything from a light therapy device, from a PEMF device, from a hydrogen gas and compression and adjustments, and these different immune boosting products, they all synergize together to give somebody that optimal response. So we want to hit health at all different angles, internally, externally, emotionally. The body's very complex. So you can't just do one thing and be like, this is the thing.
Yeah. Well, I love how you just even threw it emotionally. Like that's a whole new world that people are starting to connect. It really does all interlink. So tell me more about that. I didn't know that. So you were introduced to Alovéa from Mindy, who's another Alovéa Pro health mental specialist. And so, yeah, walk me through it. Like, how did you meet Mindy and how did you learn about this? And what was it that made you feel like with Alovéa specifically that you said, you know what, I'm willing to put my name, my reputation, and connect my brand to the company Alovéa?
So I met Mindy through my wife. My wife met Mindy, I don't know exactly where. It had to have been some kind of event, maybe that they met each other at. I'm not sure. So I got connected with Mindy through my wife, invited to one of the seminars that they had to speak on, the product. I know the owner was coming, executive scientific officer, the brains behind the product was going to be there. So because I'm a brainy person, I want to understand the science. He was speaking my language. I wanted to know the interactions with the body. How does this exactly work with the immune system? Because that's how I'm going to convey this to the people that I believe need it, right? And so when I heard the Mindy story, again, I've heard it before, but in person in that environment was a little different because it's the authenticity she had behind her voice, right? The emotion. She literally shared what she lived, right? And that is what stories is what sells people, right? So her story is so good. And again, I'm already emotionally connected to my wife who struggled with this Lyme stuff for a while. So it's like, how could I ethically say no to something like this who she had such a great response? I mean, you have to at least, wonder, you know, why wouldn't we add this to the regimen? If even one person with Mindy's stature, she's got a reputable voice, right? And then also just the type of people that were at the seminar too. It wasn't just the speakers; it was everybody there was super friendly. Everybody, it was like I was at a family reunion or something.
Oh, that's so cool.
Well, I didn't know anybody. But they were so welcoming, and it just was one of those moments where you get the tingles, right? And you're like, okay, I was supposed to be here tonight. This is a really cool, product. It's a really everything they're saying resonates. I have a patient base that needs help. They don't know what to do. And frankly, there isn't a ton of immune specific molecules that I can really give somebody that work on a systemic way. So I was missing that piece in the office too. And it's funny, I got exposed to another product that works within the immune system too, and I'm going to combo these together. I don't know if you want me to mention that one, but it's going to be really cool what kind of immune system boosting protocols that we can combo with, partnering with you guys and then sharing, the stories that we have as we go forward. I get my first bundle and probably sometime this week. And obviously I'm going to start using it first, right? I've stolen a little bit of my wife's because she's got the package. I'm going to get my own, obviously, and start there. That's the best thing you can do is you have to try it yourself, and then you can speak on it, right? And that's not even selling. It's just you're genuinely sharing your story, how you like it, what you've noticed, and that was just a no-brainer for the position I'm at with the influence I have with people's health every single day. I have 20-minute conversations with my patients. 8 hours a day, right? So it's like there's a lot of time to get to the roots of this, and I think that's actually really important. A lot of chiropractors are spending maybe 5 minutes with you, like
20 minutes is great. You're really building that relationship with them.
I want to build a long-term, relationship with the clients that are investing in me, right? They deserve it, right? To have a quick 5-minute flyby, you can't even. All you're doing is talking about the weather. You're talking about the news. Things that really don't matter. We're not talking about health, right? Try having a health conversation in 5 minutes. It doesn't really work, but you can talk and I can treat you at the same time for 20, and I can give you a really good, advice.
Well, and I think what's really cool about what you're saying is there's two parts that really struck me what you said. One was I remember when my wife transitioned from medical to chiropractic, and it was because of an experience she had, because she had scholarships in both medical path and chiropractic out of Canada. She ended up going to Life University, which you would know well, out of Atlanta. But it was when she had her own chiropractic experience. She got in an accident and it just opened up her mind. So she had that experience, and kind of like Mindy, and Mindy's one of her practicing chiropractors that takes care of her, to see the shift of when these products started radically changing her life, when the challenges with Lyme disease. I think that's so brilliant around like this idea of trying it yourself. But I think one of the other challenges around being a health professional and being a doctor like you are, that's got to be challenging, is like dealing with a client like me. You're treating me, you're taking care of me, but I then leave your office and I'm gone until the next time I come back. And you have no control what I'm doing throughout that period. I'm making a lot of wrong decisions, right? I think that's what's really powerful. It sounds like what you're doing. And I think what's so important around that kind of full support system that you're providing is not only when you're there, but also what are the things that they can be doing that they could be maybe adding to their daily regime or making a small shift in their daily regime, so that by the time they come back to see you, they're continually doing better. Is that kind of part of your philosophy?
100%. And I can tell people what to do. Outside the office, I want you doing this exercise, and I want you to, wake up with the sun, and whatever the thing is, right? It also comes down to simplicity. Everybody becomes very distracted and they forget about the routine that they were just told to do, right? And this was another kind of reason I like Alovéa products is you could create a very, very simple strategy to just, hey, consume these products for these reasons. Let's start with 1 or 2 or 3, right? And let's do this consistently. Can you commit to doing that, right? And outside of the office, I notice people they just don't do what they're supposed to do, right? And whether it's stress, whether it's pain, whether it's, binge eating, whatever it might be, having something that is very simple for them to follow, is a really good starting point. And then you can get into the complexities of like, it's not moving the needle. We need to move this or change that. And so, yes, it's a very important to make sure that what you're having them do outside of me actually seeing them makes sense and is simple, and they'll get results, just being somewhat consistent at doing that.
Yeah, I love it. I think it makes so much sense to running a practice that way. And, last question here, because I think what's unique about Alovéa, so obviously you did your research, you checked it out, you've seen the stories, you're now implementing it in not only your wife has been already, but now into your own life as well, and building it into your practice. But Alovéa has something unique. It's a buy one, give one model. It's a social business. So it's built its cause for, and it's a public benefit corporation, meaning it's allowed to use its profits for good. They've chosen the founder of the company, he and his wife have been doing this for a long time, which is nourishing children. 7 million kids die every year of malnutrition, typically to adverse reactions to different diseases because of not having the right immune system. So taking that same product that you're using, the Ace Man and the Alovéa AE, so every single product sold creates a donation. The company just surpassed 65 million servings, and it's just taking off. It's so cool. Now you're part of this company as an Alovéa Pro, as a partnered Alovéa sponsored pro. What does that mean? When you heard about that day when you met the owner in that group, what did that mean to you, and what does that mean to you and your wife?
It means so much. We find these different things in our life to figure out what gives us passion, what gives us meaning. It's all about serving others. Like, how do you give back, right? And it's almost like a double dip, right? I'm giving back with a profound product, but then on top of that, donating that product to somebody I don't know who needs it probably more than the person I'm, giving it to. And, and the way you guys like track that too. So we actually can kind of see that, and we actually make some kind of, emotional connection to that, really, I think makes us a lot more heart-centered as people. It makes us a lot more empathetic, to the things that we don't see in our busy reality in America. And so I really liked the idea that, there's good work going on in the background and that doesn't require a ton of extra or no extra work on my end. So I know, even if that person, didn't get the result they were looking for, buying, whatever product they want to do from Alovéa, they can be rest assured that their investment didn't go to waste, right? Like it was to help somebody, even if they didn't receive the help, right? So I think that's really powerful concept in itself, and I just don't know of any other company that has that delivery system like that. So it's really cool.
Well, it's very exciting, and more people are going to be impacted because of you. So we very much appreciate that. And I know the company does trips where we go down to visit orphanages and distribution centers. So I think, Dr. Travis, we'll have to get you down to Mexico, you and your wife, where we actually meet the former president of Mexico. We have that experience, go visit the kids, and then we'll have to follow up and do a follow up podcast. Does that sound like a deal sometime?
I'll even add to that. How about we go down to Mexico and and I offer some of my services down there, right? Or we actually like help kids. We treat them. We can adjust them, right? We can, do some basic, simple healthcare with the products. Why not? When you're there and you have
So
a skill, why wouldn't you, take advantage of the mission, right?
that is amazing. I mean, that's literally changing the world. Well, I love when you can end with huge goosebumps, even when I am freezing outside, but that's not why I'm getting goosebumps. So, Dr. Travis, man, it was an honor hanging out with you today. Welcome to the Alovéa Pros family. We'll definitely do that podcast follow up after we go do that in Mexico together. That would be a great honor.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Greg. Yeah, you have a great rest of your night, and I'm excited to see all the other support and benefits and stories that we have going forward.
Awesome. Excellent. Everybody stay tuned for our next Alovéa Pros and can't wait to see you soon.